Something unusual happened behind the scenes of global politics this week, and almost no one noticed at first. There were no dramatic press conferences, no official announcements, and no televised meetings between world leaders. Before we roll the footage, just one thing, and if you enjoy our work, drop a like and hit subscribe. Over 98% of you are watching without subscribing. Let's change that right now. It's free for you, but it fuels everything we do. Subscribed? Perfect. Now enjoy the video. Yet inside diplomatic circles across Europe and Washington, a quiet ripple began to spread after a private phone conversation reportedly took place between Donald Trump and Giorgia Meloni. What initially appeared to be a routine political exchange soon began to look far more significant as fragments of information slowly emerged, hinting that the two leaders may have discussed ideas capable of reshaping the political direction of Europe itself. The call reportedly occurred late in the evening, a time when official diplomatic activity is usually minimal. According to sources familiar with early reports, the discussion lasted longer than most routine political conversations between international leaders. While no official transcript has been released, several policy analysts and journalists quickly noticed subtle signals that something important had taken place. Within hours, political commentators began referencing the conversation in speculative terms, and insiders suggested that the topics may have gone far beyond ordinary diplomatic pleasantries, according to early coverage mentioned by journalists associated with outlets like BBC and The Guardian. The conversation appears to have centred on Europe's strategic future, particularly at a time when the continent is facing multiple pressures, economic uncertainty, debates about migration policy, tensions surrounding defence cooperation, and disagreements about the future of European integration have all created an atmosphere where major political shifts are possible. Against that background, a private exchange between two influential leaders immediately attracted attention. Observers quickly noted that both figures involved in the conversation have built their political reputations on challenging traditional political structures. Donald Trump has frequently criticised multinational political organisations and argued that national sovereignty should take precedence over large bureaucratic institutions. Meanwhile, Giorgia Meloni has consistently emphasised the importance of protecting national interests within Europe while still maintaining strategic alliances with Western partners. Because of those positions, any private discussion between them about Europe's political future naturally raised questions about whether a deeper alignment might be forming. Political analysts soon began examining the timing of the call more closely. Europe is currently experiencing a period of significant debate about how its institutions should evolve in the coming decades. The European Union has been dealing with internal disagreements over economic policy, migration control, energy independence, and defence strategy. Some leaders argue that the solution lies in deeper integration and stronger central institutions. Others believe that individual nations should regain more autonomy in determining their policies. This long-running debate has shaped European politics for years, but recent crises have intensified the discussion dramatically. In that context, a conversation between two leaders known for advocating stronger national sovereignty carries symbolic weight. According to one European political analyst affiliated with Oxford University, the importance of such discussions lies less in the exact words spoken and more in the broader political alignment they may represent. When influential leaders exchange ideas about structural change, those ideas can sometimes influence policy debates far beyond the original conversation. Even informal discussions can create momentum if they resonate with political movements already growing across multiple countries. Shortly after reports of the call began circulating among journalists and policy observers, several commentators pointed out that European politics has been gradually shifting in recent years. Parties emphasising national identity, border control and domestic economic priorities have gained support in several countries. Some analysts believe this trend reflects growing frustration among voters who feel that distant institutions have too much influence over everyday policy decisions. Others argue that the trend represents a temporary political cycle rather than a long-term transformation, regardless of interpretation. Oh, it creates an environment where discussions about Europe's institutional future can quickly become politically significant. The possibility that Donald Trump and Giorgia Meloni might have discussed new approaches to transatlantic cooperation therefore attracted attention not only from journalists but also from diplomats. European officials privately acknowledge that conversations between international leaders often explore scenarios long before those scenarios become public policy proposals. In many cases, these discussions serve as informal testing grounds where political leaders gauge each other's thinking about complex issues. One area that analysts suspect may have been part of the conversation involves the balance between national governments and supranational institutions within Europe. Since its formation, the European Union has gradually expanded its authority over areas such as trade regulation, competition law, and economic coordination. Supporters argue that this structure strengthens Europe's collective influence on the global stage. Critics, however, contend that it sometimes limits the ability of individual countries to respond quickly to domestic political pressures. If the phone call included discussion about alternative institutional arrangements, it would naturally attract strong reactions from both sides of that debate. Another topic believed to have been discussed is Europe's long-term strategic independence, particularly in relation to energy and defence. Over the past decade, European governments have increasingly focused on reducing vulnerabilities in critical infrastructure and supply chains. The geopolitical shocks of recent years have accelerated these discussions, prompting policymakers to consider new partnerships and policy frameworks. A conversation between major political figures about these issues would likely touch on how Europe can strengthen its resilience while maintaining cooperation with international allies. Public reaction to the emerging story has been mixed. Some commentators view the conversation as a normal example of international political dialogue between leaders who share certain ideological perspectives. Others interpret it as a sign that new political alliances could emerge in the future. Social media discussions quickly amplified both interpretations, and with supporters praising the possibility of stronger national decision-making, while critics warned about the risks of undermining long-established political institutions. Within Italy, reactions have been particularly intense because of the prominent role played by Giorgia Meloni in European debates. Her government has often positioned itself as supportive of European cooperation, while also insisting that national governments must retain significant authority over domestic policies. For her supporters, engaging in conversations about Europe's future with influential international leaders reflects a proactive approach to shaping the continent's direction. For her critics, however, such discussions raise concerns about whether Italy might support political changes that alter the balance of power within European institutions. Meanwhile, political commentators in the United States have analysed the call through the lens of transatlantic relations. The relationship between American leadership and European governments has historically played a crucial role in shaping global political stability. Discussions between American political figures and European leaders often influence debates about defence cooperation, economic partnerships, and geopolitical strategy. Because of that long history, any significant conversation between figures like Donald Trump and European heads of government can generate speculation about the future direction of international alliances. Several experts emphasise that private diplomatic discussions should not automatically be interpreted as evidence of immediate policy changes. And international politics is filled with conversations that explore hypothetical scenarios without leading to concrete action. However, these conversations still matter because they reflect the evolving perspectives of influential leaders. Over time, those perspectives can shape the broader political climate in which policy decisions are made. As the story continues to circulate, journalists and analysts are closely watching for additional signals that might clarify what was actually discussed. Official statements from government representatives have so far remained cautious and limited. Diplomatic language often avoids confirming details about private conversations, particularly when those conversations involve sensitive political topics. Nevertheless, and even the absence of clear information can sometimes increase curiosity and speculation among observers. What makes this situation particularly intriguing is the broader context in which it occurred. Europe is currently navigating a period of uncertainty that includes economic transitions, technological change, and shifting geopolitical dynamics. Debates about sovereignty, integration, and political identity are taking place across multiple countries simultaneously. When influential political figures exchange ideas during such a moment, those discussions can resonate far beyond the original participants. For now, the full substance of the conversation remains unknown. It may ultimately prove to be a routine diplomatic exchange that attracted attention simply because of the personalities involved. On the other hand, it could represent an early sign of deeper political discussions that will gradually become more visible in the coming years. International politics often unfolds slowly, with subtle developments preceding major announcements by months or even years. As observers continue to analyse the situation, the larger question remains open. What vision for Europe's future might emerge from conversations like this one? Will political leaders pursue stronger centralised institutions to address global challenges collectively, or will they move toward models that emphasise national sovereignty and flexible alliances? The answer will depend on countless negotiations, elections and policy debates that are still unfolding across the continent. For viewers following global politics closely, and this moment serves as a reminder that some of the most consequential developments begin quietly in private discussions that attract little attention at first. Whether this particular call becomes a historical footnote or an early chapter in a larger political shift remains to be seen. But the curiosity surrounding it highlights how deeply people around the world care about the future direction of Europe and the alliances that shape international stability. So the real questions remain unresolved. What exactly did Donald Trump and Giorgia Meloni discuss during that quiet conversation? Could their exchange influence future debates about sovereignty, alliances and the structure of European cooperation? And if new political ideas were explored behind closed doors, how long will it take before those ideas emerge publicly in speeches, policies or international negotiations? If you want to stay informed as this story develops and as new political signals begin to appear across Europe and beyond, make sure to follow the channel and stay tuned for the next analysis. The answers to these questions may not arrive all at once, but when they do, they could reveal far more about the future of global politics than anyone initially expected.